Welcome to CrackTalk.
Hey everybody, and welcome to CrackTalk. I'm Scott Neal. I am here with Dr. J.
Hello.
And today we've got an interesting subject: pregnancy and chiropractic.
It's wild. So I was just talking to a doc just today, and he said, I told him we were going to do the podcast about this. He said, I got a story for you. He said the guy I was working with up in Virginia, he was having an intimate dinner with his wife. Imagine this, put yourself in these shoes. He's sitting there with his wife, they're having a beautiful dinner at a fine dining restaurant, and a woman comes walking in with her husband and said, there he is, pointing at the woman's husband, who's a chiropractor. She said, that's the chiropractor that got me pregnant.
Oh, that's
Mic drop.
fantastic. That is fantastic.
The great thing is the wife of the chiropractor did not react, nor did the husband of the woman that made this comment, because what really happened here is the woman had been going to a fertility clinic. Okay. And I just want to jump right into this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we hear this all the time. If you've met a chiropractor or talked to a chiropractor that has any long tenure in practice, this is a common statement. It is something that gets played with. Oh, my chiropractor, my doctor got me pregnant.
But
right?
It's actually a really serious thing.
Serious.
Because I do have a personal story in and around this that we'll get into and share. But yeah, let's just jump into it.
Yeah, so what happens, and I like what you're saying, just bring us down a little bit, because we're laughing about something about what it says after the woman is pregnant. The untold story, Scott, is she couldn't get pregnant. Right? And I want everybody to listen to that. You got a female, marries a man, gets into a situation, they're ready to have kids. And no woman is ever prepared for the ability, nor is any man, the not be able to proactively get pregnant. We never consider this when we're in our 20s. Of course, you're just trying to have protected sex and then you're trying not to get pregnant. You never consider that you might not be able to get pregnant because of certain things, low sperm count in men, or lack of sperm, or inactive sperm, or maybe you had a catastrophic injury where a horse hit you right in the testicle and a testicle went dead. These are real things that happen to people. But women, we see in the clinic, man, Scott, they're going to fertility clinics. They want to get pregnant, and they're going through the IVF route. Costs thousands. I think the last quote I got, they did unlimited fertility IVF, $25,000.
Wow.
And the deal was, until she got pregnant, I think they did it 6 times. Okay?
Wow.
Another friend spent $50,000 because they did the a la carte. They paid every single time. So we're talking about an astronomical cost, but the real toll is the emotional and mental toll on the husband and wife that are engaging and trying to get pregnant. And they do it the natural way first. They're looking at the ovulation cycle, and for some reason they can't get it. Okay, and then they're going the IVF route. They can't get it. The baby, the egg that's been fertilized won't stay in the uterus. They keep evacuating it through a miscarriage. So you say, well, why is this happening?
Yeah, why?
I don't know. There's many factors. I'm not an obstetrician. I want to clarify this. I am not an obstetrician. I am not an OBGYN that is handling these problems. There's, of course, a lot of hormones at stake. There's estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, oxytocin. There's a lot of hormones involved. Also, as a chiropractor, what I want to bring this back to is, we've talked in this podcast, Scott, about how the nervous system controls every system, organ, and tissue in your body. Yes. Well, fertility is completely based on the woman's ovaries and her uterus. You got me?
Right.
Contrary to what we believe, because we don't have these 3 organs in our body, they're the mainstay. The ovaries are what release the eggs down the fallopian tubes into the uterus. The sperm comes through the cervix into the uterus, impregnates the egg, and now it needs to stick to the side of the uterus, and then you have a viable potential pregnancy.
Right.
Okay. And then the baby grows in the uterus. Here's the deal, though. If the nerves going to the ovaries, fallopian tubes, or uterus are being interfered with, so they're either hyperactive or hypoactive or inactive, the ability for the egg to be dropped, the ability for it to float to the fallopian tube, the ability for it to stick to the uterus wall after it is hit with a sperm goes down. So now you have somebody that cannot get pregnant naturally, which leads us to this. People come into our office, Scott.
Well, let me back
Go
up
back
before
up.
you
Go
go.
ahead.
So
Yeah.
when you're explaining that, these things within the body are told to do these things, correct?
100%.
Okay, so
by your brain, down your spinal
this is
cord.
where I want to really land this point.
Go through it.
As you're going through this, to me, it hits me. I'm like, okay, the brain is what is telling the body to do all these pieces.
Yes.
So as we discussed last week, or the week before on the podcast, is the weight of a dime on a nerve is what, 70%?
Can decrease the nerve function by 70%.
So when we say nerve function, that is communication, correct?
Communication. Sometimes you're going to feel pain. We've established this.
Yes.
9% of your nervous system feels pain, mostly in your joints, your skin, and your bones. So if you broke something, you've lacerated your skin, or you've dislocated a joint, right? The rest of them are just telephone wires, sending messages from the brain, down the spinal cord, out these spinal nerves to every system, organ, and tissue and cell in your body.
So now imagine that intricate system you just described.
Yeah.
So that means 70% of the communication from the brain to these areas of the body is not happening and or is
If you have a
interrupted.
subluxation in that area that's going to these important organs, it could and is affecting often the nerve innervation to those organs, your sex organs. Okay? And so you might be a woman, listen to this and be like, oh man, this sounds serious. Yes, you might not even be able to get into your ovulation cycle.
Wow.
Your body may not know how to regulate that. It might not know when to properly release the egg. You might get it where it doesn't go to the fallopian tube and the sperm impregnates the egg in the fallopian tube. Now you got a major medical issue called an ectopic pregnancy. And sometimes they pass, like a kidney stone passes, or sometimes they have to be surgically removed, which when they surgically remove it, they surgically remove the fallopian tube.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so very, very, very damaged. So now you only have one side that can now provide eggs to your uterus to get impregnated. So I know we're talking about something really serious and delicate, and once again, I'm not an expert on OBGYN stuff. I just know enough to be dangerous because this happens.
Yeah.
So I've never said, I'm going to get you pregnant.
Right.
Okay? Except for my wife. I did say that 3 times. But I never said this to a patient.
Right.
But what I did say is, we're going to look at your spine.
Right.
We're going to identify if we see any bones out of place, subluxation or gross subluxation, bones that are multiple moved out of place, that are creating nerve interference that may be innervating those sex organs.
Right.
And by way of putting those bones and actively adjusting them back in place, and we get your sex organs, uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes, working properly, getting the right information from the brain to the body, now you have a better chance.
Right.
And then boom, it's like magic, dude. A month after they're getting treated, they're pregnant.
Right.
And it doesn't happen 100% of the time. I don't want everybody to think, oh, this is some magic.
No, well, here's the thing too. It's if you're struggling, we actually heard a beautiful story yesterday in and around this. You know, if there's something that you're trying to get pregnant and you're struggling,
yeah, man,
it's one of those things. If you've never tried chiropractic, and again with this show, we want to take things that you wouldn't think of as being
unrelated topics and land them with chiropractic.
So if you're having trouble, the gist of it is like, hey, if you've never been to a chiropractor, we're trying to explain that, you know, this part of trying to get pregnant, I mean, the communication from the brain to the organs of your body is huge.
Well, Scott, and I know the story that you're going to tell because I was part of that story. Yeah. And I'm going to build it up, and then I want him to say what happened because it's a family matter. I had a woman that was teaching my kids approach me. This woman was, Scott, your niece.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Beautiful woman. Just got married, and then we're off to the races, and they're ready to get pregnant, and then what happens? Bam! They hit the unexpected wall. For some reason, this stuff, it's just not happening. You know, I barely touched my wife and got her pregnant. So I got the lottery on that. Yeah. I didn't know, Scott, until I got into practice, that this was a pretty prevalent issue amongst couples. So I see her at a festival, and you were there. And she comes to me and she said, my uncle Scott said that I should talk to you about this. And I said, absolutely. And I said exactly what I told you, Scott. I don't 100% know if the nerves are compromised to those sex organs that are causing your inability to get pregnant, but it's worth a chance.
Yeah.
It's worth a chance, and that's what I would challenge all the listeners. And that's where I think you were going to. It's worth a chance.
Right.
And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and schedule your appointment today. We're going to get you in the office. We're going to take some X-rays, and the doctor's going to identify if you have subluxation, and then stick to at least 2 months of treatment. Now, she didn't have pain. She wasn't in pain.
No.
She had no discomfort. She wasn't having headaches. She wasn't having low back issues. Everything that usually brings somebody in the chiropractic office. She literally just could not get pregnant. And I said, stick to the plan of care the doctor tells you, and let's see what happens. And then what happened?
Within 6 months, she was pregnant.
Boom.
And now she has 2 beautiful kids. And to this day, you ask her, she will say the exact same thing. My chiropractor got me pregnant. Complete.
Yes, and that's a win.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember this like it was yesterday, going through this, and just had her second child. So it is. We look back to it was that conversation that happened that day, and going in, and like I said, had never thought of chiropractic before. Never put 2 and 2 together, thinking, well, how does this work with that? That's just for back pain, and she will swear by it. She tells everybody, if you're having problems, if you can't get pregnant, whatever, go see a chiropractor.
And I want to go back on the story. Wasn't her husband also being treated?
Yeah, well, he had actually come in.
See, I want to roll back the reel on this. So not only is just this for women's sex organs, if men have low sperm count, usually they don't get tested, so they don't know they have it, or they have a compromised sperm count, because of the nerve innervation to the testicles. And men notoriously tear up their low backs. He was a big-time soccer player. They notoriously tear up their low backs, so sitting playing video games. I remember him. He's the one that introduced me to Twitch.
Yes.
I didn't even know what Twitch is. They said that I was never on Twitch, so don't hold it against me. But I do know how to talk Twitch sometimes. But I remember he was getting treated simultaneously. And here's the deal. Was it his sperm count? Was it her ovaries, uterus, and fallopian tubes? We'll never know because it's not our job to know. What we do know is we restore nerve flow to both of their sex organs, and as a couple, bam, you said 6 months.
Yep.
Magical thing happened. And then did they have any problems with the second pregnancy?
Nope.
My chiropractor got me pregnant. That's why we hear this stuff. So, the other thing I want to address, because see, this is the first group that we wanted to address on this, people that can't get pregnant. Then there's the ones get pregnant. Yeah. And we hear this all the time. Whoa, you guys.
I would say probably I get asked more. That's probably one of the biggest questions. I mean, if we go through this podcast, you're going to find there's probably like 5 major questions that we get asked all the time. Yes. And this is one of, I get asked, can you get chiropractic care if you're pregnant?
Yes. You should be getting chiropractic care when you're pregnant. And I literally just talked to a Webster certified female doctor, and I asked her the question because I knew we were getting asked. It was a blessing I had her on the phone. And my right now is so precious because I'm 4 weeks. This is going to be documented. Kate. Yep. I'm 4 weeks from having my first grandchild, all right, little Fallon. And we're so excited. And she's pregnant. She's getting adjusted, and things are going great. And she was going to school to be a nurse.
Sorry.
And had never been taught that, just like anybody else, why would you go to the chiropractor when you're pregnant? We're supposed to be super delicate, and all those things are accurate. But here's the deal. When you're pregnant, okay, your body starts releasing different hormones. Yeah, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. But then these new nice hormones come into circle. You get oxytocin, which starts getting the uterus to contract. Okay. It starts getting your body prepped. It also, oxytocin starts letting the milk start, your milk glands in a female to start getting ready to breastfeed the child, right? And these things really start ramping up, but they start early. Okay. The next one is relaxin. Is a wonderful hormone. And relaxin, I want everybody to think about this. It's exactly what it sounds like. Okay. Relaxin is a hormone that starts increasing as they get closer to delivery, because relaxin is a hormone that causes ligament elasticity. So between your 2 pelvic bones, right here, there's a called your pubic symphysis right here, and it's a massive ligament, thick ligament. And what's happened? Let's say this is the vaginal canal, and this is the pelvis. This pelvis has to go like this. It doesn't open probably that much, but it has to open up. Right. So your body, as a woman, starts releasing a hormone called relaxin.
Now, does that help that relax that to
Relaxes that so the baby can come through
Okay.
the birthing canal and out into the wonderful world we live in. So without that, you couldn't do that. You would have to go cesarean every
Gotcha.
time. Okay.
Gotcha.
And see, back to normal function.
Right.
I find that a lot of women that have to give cesareans, their body isn't regulating properly while they're pregnant. So they need to be making sure, Scott, they're getting adjusted, ensuring, just like the sex hormones, still we're
Right.
dealing with or sex organs, they're getting the proper nerve flow
So
to function
if
properly.
they're not, could their body not be producing enough
100%.
relaxin? Okay.
It could be producing too much. Then they get what they call loose hips. And if you've been pregnant and you have that feeling, your hips start getting real loose, you're probably producing too much relaxin.
Got it.
Or you go in and you're not feeling that, and then you get to birth and your doctor's like, your pelvis isn't opening up. It's not giving. You're not producing enough. Okay. So once again, do we take credit for these things? Absolutely not. What we do want to make sure is that we're clearing the spine
Right.
of subluxation, bones moving left, right, up, down. Okay, 1 to 5 millimeters that are intentionally putting now pressure or interfering with that nerve root, blocking the brain's ability to send messages down the spinal cord, out that nerve to that organ. And specifically, we're talking about your sex organs. Or now when you're pregnant, your carrying organs, which is still, your ovaries are regulating all your hormones.
Right.
And your uterus is also holding the baby inside of it. And it expands as women's bellies get bigger. So we need to make sure these pregnant women are getting adjusted. There's nothing more serious than a pregnant woman going through pregnancy, the baby not being turned properly, their body not responding properly, and them having to go through a cesarean, which is pretty traumatic surgery. The birth process is traumatic.
Traumatic.
Carrying the baby is traumatic.
Yep.
Right? So one thing I want to lend to the listeners here is, how do pregnant women get adjusted?
How do
Similar and different. And
Okay.
it's completely dependent on the pregnant woman. What can she tolerate? How far along is she?
Okay.
And we have belly pillows for the adjusting
Okay.
tables so they can get the drops and the belly sits in this
Says.
crevice. There's many different ways. And this is why it's very, very important. And I can't express this enough. We talked about this 2 podcasts ago about getting the right referral.
Right.
You want, if you're pregnant and you're carrying your baby, you want to go to a chiropractor that is recommended by a woman that was pregnant and getting adjusted.
Right.
Because then
Right.
at least he knows or she knows how to adapt their technique
Right.
to properly position that woman to where she's going to have the best opportunity of birth possible. I'm not saying it's going to eliminate all complications, but just like we talked to your niece, giving her the best opportunity to have the best delivery possible by allowing her body to function at her top optimal level. Got me?
Right.
So then there's the third group.
Okay.
You've just given birth. Do you get adjusted after you give birth?
Actually, yes.
You would think.
Yes.
Human
Yes.
just came out of you. Not to be graphic.
Well, as I was saying, now this is something that before we even got started, I asked you this when we were talking about it, because pregnancy, going through pregnancy and giving birth, isn't it one of the most traumatic experiences that can happen to
Scott Neal.
a female's body as well as the newborns?
Scott, I'm telling you, a natural birth, without complications. You add complications, it gets 10, 20
Right.
times more catastrophic. A natural birth is a traumatic process for the women. Her hips open up.
And there's a lot going on.
A lot's going on.
There's a
and
lot
it's
going
traumatic.
on.
The amount of pressure that's on the baby's head, then the baby's neck, then the baby's spine as they're being coerced through the vaginal canal out into this world. Massive amounts of
Well,
pressure.
then you also just think of the shape of the baby for 9 months.
Yes.
Growing
Yes.
inside.
Yes.
That is.
Ask any pregnant woman when they get in their 7th, 8th month and that belly starts going, hey, you comfortable? No.
No.
Are you getting any more comfortable? No. Is there any position to get in? I don't know. So we just want to make sure,
Right.
and just think about, like, you're adding like 15, 20, 30, 40 pounds of forward pressure on your low back, man.
Imagine the stress.
Oh.
Because just as you grow, what is it? Is it 15 pounds? Gravity just pulls like for every inch.
Oh, yeah. So we talked that with anterior head carriage. right? So if for every inch your head moves forward, it increases double, triple in weight, straining all the muscles and ligaments, tendons. So anterior head carriage is when your head goes like this, and we've all seen it. And most of the time when you see people with their head like this, what's trailing behind them is an oxygen tank because they cannot breathe. And their nerve function in their upper cervical is compromised so bad, Scott. So
my point
add
is,
this weight and it goes
so
pulls
for
it out.
every inch, it's like for every inch you're out, basically you're going, all right, well, if I'm 1 inch out, I'm strapping a 15-pound weight on my midsection that's going to put pressure or pull on my back, on my spine. So if I'm out, say 5 inches, give or take.
It's heavy.
I see that, I'm like, wow.
It's heavy.
And that's just gravity pulling.
Any one of you women, we're being very sympathetic right now.
Yes.
Now, we are not claiming that we know anything because we have not.
No.
Have you given birth to anybody?
No.
Nor have I. So I want this to be very neutral.
Yes.
We are just talking about things. I asked my daughter-in-law the other night, how are you doing? I'm okay. Which means I'm in severe pain. I'm cramping. I got Braxton Hicks. My back is killing me. You wanted me to walk all over the town the other day with you. My husband is. I'm making it, but I'm gonna need to lay down and take a minute.
I'm okay.
So pregnant women have got to be getting adjusted. Would be my highest recommendation. Now, one thing I want to talk about this too is X-rays, because we do X-rays in every single one of our clinic. If a pregnant woman is dealing with massive migraines or they've been in a motor vehicle accident, we will take X-rays with a lead vest and just take a picture of their neck. Okay? But we lead vest, we don't want any radiation here. The other thing why you want to make sure you're going to a chiropractor per recommendation that treats a lot of pregnant women, because that chiropractor is going to have to rely on their hands palpating the spine for subluxation and using orthopedic neurological testing and any objective testing outside of X-ray.
Okay.
Because you're not going to X-ray a pregnant woman.
No.
It's contraindicated, which means we don't do it. Why have something beautiful in your belly and then add radiation?
Right.
Most chiropractors are going to choose, and unless it's an emergency situation, okay, we're going to choose to opt out of that and then rely on our skills, intellect, and objective testing to determine what we need to adjust.
So a chiropractor can, without doing the X-rays, you said they can do through palpitations and things like that, find subluxations and things like that. Okay.
Have to.
Have to. That's great to know.
Yes. So a lot of women think, well, last time I went there, I got X-rayed. Well, this time you come in here and you got a baby bump, or you even state. Yeah. It's actually on all of our intake paperwork. When was the last time you menstruated?
Right.
And if it's been over 30 days, we're highly suspect that you might be pregnant. We may or may not take X-rays of your low back, or we'll lead vest you up.
But that doesn't mean we can't find the subluxation or find the misalignment.
It doesn't mean that we can't find it, and it doesn't mean that we can't treat it, because we can absolutely do both of those things.
So what about the newborn? So mom gives birth.
Okay.
And this is something that she's gone through 9 months.
Tough, most traumatic thing. I don't care if they slip out easy or it's hard. It's traumatic
for
on the
9
body.
months you've been dealing with this.
Yes.
I mean, it's been strain, things like that on the body. We want to get mom's spine back in alignment, get checked, get her back functioning at 100%. Now, what about the newborn? Because this is another question that I get asked a lot.
This will be probably another podcast.
Yes.
The importance of having kids under care. It's an absolute. And one of our coaches has said, we treat patients from cradle to grave. And if a child comes into this world, whether it's cesarean, still traumatic, okay? Because they're still cutting the mom open. They bring the baby out. It's traumatic, right? It's stressful. And as we talked about the 3 T's, we got toxins, we got traumas, and we got thoughts. Let me tell you something. Bam, trauma. Okay, and then stress kills was the thoughts. The babies go into a heightened sense. They're in a warm little place and they're brought out into this cold world. Okay,
and then pow.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's actually been cold outside. But they need to be checked by a chiropractor that specifically can treat children. So that's another, once again, get a recommendation. Most of the time, if you have a chiropractor that is treating pregnant women, you're going to see a tremendous amount of children running around their office. And they're not running yet. They're in a little crate. My kids all got adjusted right out of the womb by a specialist, because the first 2 I had when I was in school. So I took them like an offering to a pediatric specialist, chiropractor at school, and said, can you do something with this? And I was just, dude, I cried. Yeah. I was blown away at how skilled this woman was. So that's who you want to have put hands on that child, because then what we're doing, Scott, not to get too deep on the kids, you're giving that child the best opportunity to heal and be well and to adapt and grow properly, because their brain is communicating effectively with their entire body.
And for the first time.
For the first time, yes.
So if you think about it, I mean, this kind of hit me in this podcast, and it always amazes me the amount of information that I glean whenever we have these conversations. But if you think about it, if there's anything that we're dealing with, any kind of condition, whatever like that, chiropractic basically does go to the root cause. So basically, it is like the start of everything. Starts with the brain, down through the spine, out through the body.
Well, Scott, I'm going to go back to this. We just talked about epigenetics, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Genetically based diseases are starting to be determined that they're epigenetically based diseases and problems, okay? Which means environment is affecting that gene's expression. We all have the same genes. Now, there's trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome. That's a real genetic delete or a major issue, okay? That's a genetic deformity, okay? Mm-hmm. We're not talking about that. We're talking about general humans like ourselves in certain environments cause different gene expression, okay? Right. That's exactly what you're talking about, which lead people to different outcomes.
Right.
Why do all these people in this family have low back pain? Well, they sit on the couch 9 hours a day. Right. They don't go out, or they're all a bunch of power lifters.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or they all wrestled for a living, or whatever. Or they were all athletes. Right. So I want to bring it back though, because you are 100% hitting the nail on the head. So we have women that can't get pregnant. Listen to this podcast and understand there's a lot going on in your body. And the biggest thing, if you're having this issue, you want to make sure that that nervous system is functioning at its heightened state. And all your sex organs and your hormones and everything's doing everything it's supposed to be. Even if you're getting IVF.
Well, and if you're trying everything and you're serious and you're seriously trying to get pregnant and you're trying everything, if you haven't tried chiropractic.
For me, it'd be step one.
It would be number one. Well, that's why I'd go
step one, because it's the least invasive.
And that's what I say when I was going back to saying it's kind of the root cause of anything. So it's like if there's any reason, it's like you almost want to start with the chiropractor first, because it's almost the least, like you said, it's minimally invasive. You can go get checked.
Well, here's what I was going to tell you. This is what they've proven about chiropractic. We're customer satisfaction through the roof. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're the least invasive. We're not giving you drugs that you have to go look for contraindications. We're not doing surgery. We're working with your body to help your body heal. Okay, and cost effectiveness. We're the lowest cost per condition out of almost any syndrome. Yeah. All right. So think about that. Yep. Not only do we have the highest patient satisfaction, and then I was going to add the other one, results. Right. We get absolutely high level results. All right. I don't know what the stats are, but they're realistic. Right. I don't want to quote the study, but satisfaction, right? Customers, or not customer service, we get satisfaction, effectiveness, giving you the results, cost effectiveness, and non-invasive. When you're pregnant, the last thing you want is anything invasive. If you're trying to get pregnant, they tell you stay away from everything. They'll take you off all your medications. They'll start saying things like don't drink alcohol, don't do anything. Watch your stress level. That's one of the biggest ones. Yes. They'll say, hey, you need to not sit in a dark room and cry, but you need to really reduce anything that's impacting you physically, emotionally, and mentally, because they want your body to be in a reduced state, so your natural hormones. I'm saying get to the chiro. Establish that your spine, if it needs work, get the work done. If it doesn't need work, still get the work done and maintain it.
Well, so then getting pregnant.
Okay, next one is you're pregnant. So now you're pregnant.
Yeah, now you're pregnant, which you just hit me with the stress, which is going to be a podcast down the line, I'm sure, talking about how chiropractic can help alleviate stress during pregnancy.
100%, Scott. I mean, most women that are getting adjusted, I just adjusted somebody that was 40 weeks, about to give birth, a 37 week, a 31 week, and dude smiles on their face. It's the one place they can go, and they don't have to worry about drug interactions. Mm-hmm. They don't have to worry about surgery. It's all natural. It feels right. Their low back that was hurting and stressed out from carrying that baby bump, because that's no joke, immediately can kind of retract, and they feel that stress come off their spine, getting it aligned. They're also starting to carry a lot of stress up here because they know the baby's coming. Yeah. So getting their neck and all that stuff adjusted, because headaches are another thing that become massive when you're pregnant. And I wanted to talk about when you're pregnant. I was just talking to the female chiropractor, and she was talking about how she's Webster certified. I want everybody to hear this word, Webster Technique certified.
Okay.
These are probably going to be the people that you need to go see, or the chiro that you need to go see. So I want everybody just to get that. If you're trying to get pregnant, if you're pregnant and post-pregnancy, okay, you need to go to a Webster certified. If they're not Webster certified, they know how to do the Webster technique. So what is the Webster technique?
That's kind of the key word, Webster.
Yes, Webster. Look that up. Webster, and it's everything on. Look it up online. It's very. But I'm going to give you a little glimpse of this. What's phenomenal is there's a certain technique that works with the bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in the pelvic region that helps your body adapt to its proper carrying position and positioning the baby to proper delivery position. So they'll say the word turn the baby. Some people, the baby is supposed to naturally turn from like a breech to an anti-breech head down. Well, let me tell you, very often the baby does not turn. So you go to a chiropractor that's certified in Webster or knows the Webster technique, they can naturally over a few days get that baby to start turning by stimulating. And I got it right here. Trigger points, the piriformis and the psoas muscle. And I love that she gave me this information. The ligaments that they stimulate, and you can look this up, the sacral tuberous ligament and the round ligament that are all down in the pelvic area. And the bones, the sacrum, the ilium, and the pubic symphysis, which is the ligament that holds the two bones together. So the Webster technique takes all of those and it looks at it, how complex it is, and you stimulate it. It's a very interesting technique. Absolutely fantastic. Super light, non-invasive, and then get that body to properly carry that baby and also get that baby in the right position so you have the best opportunity to deliver the baby properly with the least amount of stress to your body.
That's huge.
It's huge. And who knows? I've talked to so many women, they're like, what are you talking about? Well, it's all over online if you know what to look for. And that's why we're doing this,
So the Webster certified
Webster technique,
and the chiropractor should be Webster certified.
Yeah, Webster certified. I was never Webster certified, but I knew the Webster technique.
How to do the Webster
Still know
technique.
the Webster technique, but somebody that's Webster certified, they've been studied, they've been tested, they're out on it.
Right.
Okay, just like any certification. So that leads me to the last one.
I was going to say we got
should women
trying to get pregnant, and then post-pregnancy.
Should women get pregnant or adjusted after pregnancy? 100%. Because here's the deal: after you deliver the baby, your sex hormones don't shut off. So that oxytocin, that relaxin
is still going.
Still going. So your hips, you could still get more and more loose hips, but when that baby comes through and that pelvic symphysis opens up, remember we did this? It opens up like this, it needs to go back. Well, what if it goes back like and it misfires?
Never thought
or
about
straight.
that.
Happens all the time.
So imagine during the light bulb just went off.
Yeah.
So you just went through a traumatic experience called birth.
Trauma.
So you may have not have had a trauma prior, but birth did this. So when you're going
your
back,
hips can shift.
You're actually healing after you've gave birth. If that message, that communication from here is not getting back, it may not go back the same way.
Or just physically, it doesn't heal back because it got so misaligned. It needs to be put back. So while the woman's body is contracting back, we need to make sure we want to give you everyone that's listening to this the best opportunity to not have physical problems years and years after that build and build and build. Let's get things straight. Let's give them the best opportunity to let that pelvis come back to exactly where it needs, the low back next exactly where it needs, and to make sure that the nerve intervention is going to these sex organs, making sure that your relaxin starts going away, your oxytocin goes up so you can naturally breastfeed properly, so your milk drops. Right. This is so important. Very important. You've went one of the most physical, one of the T's, traumas. Yeah. You gave birth. You got to make sure you're getting treated.
Yeah, well, you think about, getting pregnant, going through pregnancy, once you have the baby, you think like, all right, everything stops, just goes back to normal.
No. It takes time. That's why maternity leave's usually 6 to 8 weeks at minimum, because it takes minimum 6 to 8 weeks just for things to start getting back into a more regulated pattern for the woman.
Vitally important then for that mom to come into a chiropractor afterwards.
Yes.
And then the fourth one, which, like I said, this will be a podcast all in itself, is you've got mother getting treated and then the newborn getting treated as well.
Yeah. My big shout out is men need to be getting adjusted. If you're going through IVF, and even if his sperm count was right, you had it tested, let's not point fingers. Get him and you checked in the office. Let's make sure that the nerves are flowing, your body's healing, your body's functioning properly, Scott, and you have the best opportunity to have that child. And then once the child gets here, have them checked so that the whole family heals, is healthy, and is living their best freaking life. Yeah. Not necessarily out of pain, because we can kick pain out quick, but functioning the best, man. Right. So they have the best opportunity in life not to have all these chronic illnesses. Right. You know, back to epigenetics. Start them with the best environment possible. So, Scott, here we go. We do this podcast, first to educate, second to inspire. So, women, men, you've gotten some education today about there's reason you should be trying to get pregnant, get in the office. Right. If you're pregnant, get in the office. If you've had the baby, get in the office. Okay? Men and women, husband and wife, significant other and significant other, whatever it is. Yes. Right? Bam. Okay? Next one is inspire. Say, there's hope.
Yep. Yes.
That if you're struggling with any of these, or if you're pregnant right now and I sympathize and you're hurting like my wife did 3 times, please get adjusted. Luckily, she had a chiropractor on call, so I just got the Gene to be like, all right. Yeah. So I'd adjust her, bam, 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 bam. But next day, I'm hurting. Yeah. Bam, 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 adjust it. My daughter-in-law, same thing, right? And the last one is action steps. Mm-hmm. Action steps. Get a recommendation if you're in any one of those categories. Get a recommendation for a great chiro in your area. I know almost all of our doctors are Webster certified, or they know the Webster technique. We train on it. Get into the office. Don't worry about getting adjusted yet. First, you got to see if you qualify.
Right.
All right? But get into the office and get checked, depending on where you are there, and allow the chiropractor to explain to you what's going on, and then make a choice if you're going to get treated or not. I would highly recommend action step, get treated. It's the most natural care you can receive in any one of those 3 phases of care.
Right. What was it? I always make the comment when I talk to somebody, say, look, what's the worst thing that can happen? You get pregnant.
Which is what you're going for.
Which is what you're going for. So, hey, Dr. J, awesome Thanks, podcast this week. This one was fun.
My chiropractor got me pregnant. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't know. The titles that we're coming up with may get us in trouble.
I don't know.
All right, but for everybody watching, we do want to ask, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. If you're listening to us on Spotify, make sure to follow us. If there's anything that you guys, if you're listening to these or watching them and would like us to discuss a specific topic or have something to ask, please send us a message, reach out to us, let us know. We would be glad to cover the topic. And
if we don't know how to cover it, we'll try to get an expert like epigenetics last week.
We'll bring somebody in that knows all about it. So if you're listening, we appreciate it. And until next week, guys, you all be good.
See ya.